Good day, it's Dr. McLean with Vital Energy Chiropractic. I want to share a personal story with you that I think that will really help you right now. A lot of people, as we come out of COVID, or at least hopefully we're coming out of COVID, they're fearful of going back into society. Maybe this is you that are fearful of going back to work, going back to restaurants, maybe interacting with their friends and family. And I'm not here to convince you to do one thing or the other, but we are here to live our lives. And I just want to share a personal story that I think might help you. So this is pre-COVID, many of you know, about 4 years ago, I had a significant trauma. I fell and broke my hip. And it was bad enough that the first surgeon I saw with 25 years of experience could not do the surgery. Had to refer me to another surgeon. So it was a significant injury. So I go through surgery, and then I had recovery. I was a week on a walker, and then I had 3 months or 3.5 months on crutches. I couldn't put any weight on this leg. I had a non-weight bearing for 3.5 months. So I was very fortunate. My wife was able to take over the practice. Her parents came down and helped us around the house for quite a while. And so I was kind of in this bubble. And even though I was going out, I'd go out and pick the kids up from school, things like that. I didn't have a lot of obligations, and I was in kind of this cocoon, what maybe some of you guys are experiencing with COVID. I didn't really have to go out for anything. And this is during the winter time, so it was a little bit harder to be out on crutches, so I was a little more homebound. And I remember after about 3.5 months, my wife started asking me, I was getting my physical strength back, I was able to start moving again. And my wife's like, are you ready to come back to work? Or when do you think you're ready to come back to work? And of course, she's been working her tail off and doing kind of double duty. And I couldn't quite put my finger on it. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. And finally, I was talking to one of my best friends, one of my accountability partners. And I said, I'm embarrassed to admit this, that I'm afraid to go back to work. And this is something, I moved here from Montana. I didn't know a soul. I started my practice from scratch. I'm used to taking risk. And so I really couldn't figure it out. And so I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I said, I'm afraid to go back to work, and I can't figure out why. And he said, oh, that's totally normal. And he shared the story with me that when he was 18, he went from being this top level hockey player in Canada on a traveling hockey team to developing this illness where overnight he was paralyzed. He was in a hospital for like a month, and then kind of similar situation where I had. He said, you get this kind of cocoon where you don't really have any challenges, you don't have any risk, you're not facing rejection. Life is pretty easy. Why would you want to go back out into the big bad world? And so he says, totally normal what you're experiencing. You just got to get back into it. And so that made a lot of sense to me. And it reminded me of this story when I was, I don't remember how old I was, but I was in the back seat of my parents' car, and we're driving through farm country in Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin. I remember looking out the cows, and I must have already had some stress at this young age, but I said, gosh, wouldn't it be great to be a cow, because they don't have to worry about anything. They just go out and they eat grass, they get fed, they don't have to worry about anything. And I didn't know a lot about cows' lives at the time, but my mom said, well, that's true. They probably don't have a lot of stress that way, but they also don't have a lot of choices. They can't move to Montana. They can't decide to be a doctor, a lawyer, an artist, or set goals and decide to build a house, or they don't have these opportunities. And so where you're at right now, you might have some concern about getting back into society with COVID. And I know COVID's dangerous. I know many people have died from it, but the relative risk is, statistically speaking, is very, very low. If you want to be afraid of something, I'm not suggesting that you should be, but you should be much more afraid of heart disease or cancer. You have a much higher risk, 1 out of 2, 1 out of 3, maybe 1 out of 5, depending what research you have, much, much higher risk of developing heart disease or cancer, and then significantly higher risk of dying from one of those diseases. So you should be much more afraid of not exercising, not eating healthy food, not getting your spine adjusted if you want to be afraid of something. But here, this is really interesting. I did not realize this. They've done way more research on loneliness. This is one study looked at. It says loneliness was associated with doubled mortality risk in women and nearly doubled risk in men. Both men and women who felt lonely were 3 times more likely to report symptoms of anxiety and depression, and had a significantly lower quality of life than those who did not feel lonely. So I hope that helps, just sharing my story, that, of course, my life is so much better now, and I'm so thankful I went through that process. So hopefully you can see the benefit of what we went through here this past year. But, we're really on this earth at this time for a pretty small window, right? You may have different beliefs on afterlife or things like that, but as far as being on this life right now in this physical body, it's a pretty small window. And we're here to make a difference, not only in our own lives, but other people's lives. And yes, you're going to face rejection, you're going to have challenges, you're going to have setbacks, but that's what life's about. And you get to have these great benefits along with those things as well. And so you do what's comfortable for you, of course, but we're here to live life. And I encourage you to get back out there, get back on the horse, so to speak, and start to, take a little bit of calculated risk. I'm not talking about with COVID, just with your life. Get back out there, reestablish those friendships, get back together with people, and do what's comfortable for you.